Welcome to episode 65 of the 301 show. Got a great show on tap for you here today. The Vikings have found a new general manager. The Wild have a center conundrum that we will try to help them figure out. The Timberwolves are looking for a couple of new players here, and the Twins continue to exist as a franchise. All of that and more here on episode 65 of the 301 show.
From the land of 10,000 lakes and just as many heartaches, welcome to the 301 show. We're here to celebrate, commiserate, and maybe, just maybe, see a Minnesota team win it all. Whether you're dreaming of a Vikings Super Bowl, reliving the glory days of the Twins, or still recovering from the Timberwolves roller coaster, we've got you covered. This is the 301 show, where the North remembers and the passion never fades.
Leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one talking about Minnesota sports. If you also want interviews with Minnesota athletes, coaches, and other media members, subscribe to the channel as well. You can find a playlist for 301 Banter, the interview series we do on this channel too. You can also comment down below who you want to see on 301 Banter, as well as where you agree or disagree with me on this episode. You can also leave ideas for the power ranking segments that we do at the end of every episode down below as well. Let's get into the episode. Moving on to our first segment here of the episode, Target Field Talkers. We've got a lot to go over here for the Twins. They have fallen to 29 and 34 on the season. They are still in third place in the AL Central. They are seventh in the wild card. They are hitting .238 on the season, a .318 on base, with a .385 slugging, a .703 on base plus slugging. That's 20th, tied for 15th, 17th, and 18th. Runs scored, they've scored 290 runs runs, not per game, but over the course of the season. That's seventh in the league. They have hit 65 home runs, which is tied for 14th. They have 215 walks to 541 strikeouts. That's tied for 15th and 23rd, respectively. They have 44 stolen bases, which is 13th. They're 53.2% on the auto ball and strike challenge system, which is 15th in the league. The pitching and fielding rankings thus far are they have a 4.56 ERA, which is 23rd in the league. Their WHIP is 1.36, which is tied for 20th. The strikeouts, they have 496 strikeouts, which is 18th in the league. 222 walks, which is 20th. They have 36 errors, which is 22nd in the MLB. And in .983 fielding percentage, which is also 22nd. If you look back here, since our last episode, they have only won one series out of the 6 that they have played. They lost 2 out of 3 to Milwaukee. They won 2 out of 3 against Houston. Excuse me, they've won 2 out of the 6. They won 2 out of 3 against Houston. They swept the Boston Red Sox. They lost 3 out of 4 to Chicago. They got swept by the Pittsburgh Pirates. And then as of recording this, they have now lost 2 out of 3 to the Chicago White Sox after they lost 8-0 earlier today. They do have a 4-game series at home here against the Kansas City Royals this weekend. That series starts tomorrow. Again, if you're seeing this on the day that is uploaded, that will be tomorrow on Thursday. The Twins then fly to Detroit for a 3-game series starting next Tuesday, June 9th. Again, 3 games in Detroit. Two scheduled starters are Taj Bradley and Zebby Matthews. They are still looking for someone to start on Wednesday. The Cardinals then come to town at the end of next weekend for a 3-game series, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of next week. We've got some news here. Couple of things to go over. First is that Simeon Woods Richardson was designated for assignment. So those 2 games, one's tomorrow against the Royals, and then the one's next or later, I guess early next week, against the Detroit Tigers. Those are the Simeon Woods Richardson slotted start. So they'll either do a bullpen day, an opener, or they'll have to call somebody up from the minor leagues. My guess is that they will do an opener on this because they'll have to make a corresponding move to send somebody down at that point. But Simeon Woods Richardson, again, just not having a good year this year. I thought he was pitching pretty well last season, but he just could not figure it out this year up to this point. And so he has 47.2 innings pitched. He has started 12, or he's pitched in 12 games. He's started 10 of them. He is 0-7. They have not given him a win in any of the decisions that he has made, or in the starts that he has made so far this year. Again, that's in 47 innings pitched. That's not that great. Obviously, he has a 7.74 ERA so far this year. Again, last year was a 4.04, which again, maybe a tad high, but still not that bad for a 4 or 5 starter in your rotation. But again, 7.7 is absolutely awful. The only other year he has an ERA higher than 7.7, he only pitched in 1 game, and that was back in 2023. He only got into 1 game, and he pitched 4 2/3 innings. So of years where he actually pitches more than 10 times, this is by far and away, by over 3 runs, this is by far and away it's over 3.5 runs, I guess. This is his worst season in the big leagues. He again, just looking at it here, he has let up 41 unearned runs in 47.2 or 47 2/3 innings pitched. So just not what you are looking for. Again, I know he is he was like the 4th starter this year. He was asked to do more because of Pablo going down, but he just was not able to really step up to that task. So yeah, he got sent down. Royce Lewis also got sent down. Royce, again, also struggling up here at the big league level. In the major leagues, Royce has played in 31 games so far this year. He has 104 at-bats where he is hitting 163. And again, by far and away his worst batting average of his career. 2024, his second worst at 233. That also in 82 games played. His on-base percentage is a career low at this point at 261. He's got a 279 slugging percentage. So again, just all numbers being down from last year or 2 years ago, which was seemingly his other, last year and the year before being his 2 worst years of his career. Again, burst onto the scene in 2023 with that monster 309 average. He hit 15 home runs that year, with 52 RBIs, and was just never able to take that next step forward. Also, just not able to stay on the field. But in the minors this year, maybe he's just a little, pissed off about the Twins sending him down to St. Paul, sending him to the Saints. in 11 games this year, and he played two of these games in a rehab assignment, but in 11 games in St. Paul this year, he has a 318 batting average. He has a 388 on base and an 864 slugging percentage. That is off of 7 home runs, 13 RBIs, 3 walks to only 11 strikeouts. So again, he is crushing it in St. Paul right now. Again, if you ever want to go to a St. Paul Saints game with all the fun kind of shenanigans that they do in the crowd and all of that, like, this is the time to go. You got Matt Wallner in St. Paul. You got Royce Lewis in St. Paul. Royce Lewis is absolutely tearing the cover off the ball at this point. I see some fans saying, like, he's doing so well, you need to call him up right now. Just pump your brakes just a little bit on that. Like, there is such a thing as bringing a guy back too early. Like, you gotta, like, this is obviously trying to build Royce's confidence, but also trying to change some of the mechanics that he needs to change at this point, and get him into a position where it doesn't just revert back to where he was before he got sent down. Like, he needs to. That's a little bit like what the Vikings were doing with McCarthy last year of working on his footwork, mid-season, and he just, like, that's more of a thing you do in the off season. You can't do it. Can't work on mechanics really in the big leagues, in the MLB. That's what St. Paul is for. That's what these minor leagues are for. Is to be able to really get your mechanics down and in a position to where it becomes second nature, and it becomes more of like a muscle memory, and these different, you're trying to break some habits and get back to good habits and good mechanics and good all of this, and that just takes some time. So I would avoid rushing Royce back. Now, Royce probably doesn't want to hear that. Royce probably wants to be back in the big leagues, trying to compete and trying to. I don't think they'll really have a chance this year to do it, but he's trying to get back to compete to win a championship at the big league level. That's the goal of every baseball player that has ever played this game, is to win a World Series. And obviously Royce wants to do that. It was a big reason that the Twins won their first playoff game in 20 years back in 2023. And I'm sure he got a little bit of a taste of that and was like, I want more of this. Again, Twins fans, I know, wanted more of that. So I think just being able to permanently change your mechanics, one, takes time, but is also the right move to make in the minor leagues. Like, it's better to work on that in the minor leagues, where there's less pressure. All right, moving on to some more news here from the Twins. They have acquired from the Pittsburgh Pirates right-handed pitcher, reliever Justin Lawrence. They acquired him for cash. In 2026 so far, he has a 5.32 ERA and a 1.55 whip with 25 strikeouts, 12 walks, and 2 holds. In 2025, he had a 0.51 ERA, a 0.96 whip, 23 strikeouts, 8 walks, and 6 holds. Again, did not pitch. Oh, he got injured, did not pitch a full season, but still had crazy good numbers in 2025. And I think the Twins are taking a chance on that, the Derek Shelton being a part of that at the beginning before he got fired last year from the Pirates. If he can tap into even close to what Justin Lawrence was doing last year for the Pittsburgh Pirates, then this is a fantastic move if they can do that. So yes, the Twins have acquired a right-handed relief pitcher. Another roster move, kind of bad roster move here, is Bailey Ober got sent to the injured reserve. So he's got right elbow inflammation, so he will be going on the injured reserve list. Yeah, that's about all the news I have here for the Twins. We'll move on to predictions here. So I had 3 predictions come off the board. I said that the Twins will win at least, or the Red Sox will win at least 2 out of the 3 games versus the Twins. Twins won all 3. I said the Twins manager will get tossed at least 3 times in 2026. Made this prediction before we knew who the Twins manager was going to be. But that is already correct, and we just hit June 1st. Said the Brewers win the series against the Twins. That was also correct. That brings me up to 43 total correct out of 139 predicted for 31%. 3 coming on the board here. Said Royce Lewis will be in the starting lineup for the Twins in game 162. I think he's going to be back in the majors at some point soon here. But I also want this to be a season-long one, and it doesn't matter how many games he's in the lineup for, as long as he is in the starting lineup for game 162 for the Twins. This will count as correct. Joe Ryan will be an all-star in 2026. I think he's going to be the pitcher that's healthy enough and will be good enough to be the Twins representative from this pitching staff. Don't have to have a pitcher go, but I think if it is a pitcher, it will be Joe Ryan. And then final prediction is that Josh Bell will hit 2+ home runs against the Royals this weekend. All right, moving on now to the Wolves' Den. We'll start here with the Lynx. They find themselves back in first place in the WNBA. They are 7-2 on the season, which is fantastic news, obviously, after just for any team, but especially the Lynx in their current situation. Is, again, Nafisa Collier is still out, but the team also started 2-2, so they're on a 5-game winning streak. Collier does have an update so far for this. So according to Andrew Dukowitz of Zone Coverage, Collier has yet to resume full on-court activity. So she is not back yet from her surgery. The Lynx, like I mentioned, are 7-2. They are 2-2 at home. They are 5-0 on the road. Excuse me for 1 second. As for the points for so far this year, they are second in points for with 90.9. They are number 1 in points against with 78.9. So they have a plus 12 point differential on the season. If we look back here, again, they were 1-1 the last time we spoke. They beat the Dallas Wings in Dallas 90-86. They then lost to the Chicago Sky 86-79. They took on the Toronto Temple at home, where they won 100-72. They beat the Chicago Sky in Chicago 85-75. They beat the Atlanta Fever at home 96-81. They beat the Chicago Sky at home 79-58. And then they beat the Phoenix Mercury in Phoenix 111-77. So, again, can very much defend, can very much score, too. They've dropped 100 points a couple times so far this year. They've obviously held the Chicago Sky to under 60 points. So they are a very just well-rounded team so far this season. And that's without their best player and arguably one of, if not the best players just in the WNBA right now in Nafisa Collier. So if they can get her back, like this team, the sky's the limit for this team, not the Chicago Sky being the team. The actual sky is the limit for this team. They can absolutely win a championship this season. You got 3 games coming up here. They take on, all 3 of them are at home. Next 3 games are at home. They take on the Golden State Valkyrie at 8 p.m. on Thursday, June 4th, just tomorrow as I'm recording this. And then take on the Seattle Storm at noon on Saturday, June 6th. And then they take on the Dallas Wings at 7 p.m. Tuesday, June 9th. As for the Timberwolves, again, not a ton. Again, they lost to the Spurs. The big things here are just what to do in the offseason now for the Timberwolves. The first quote we have here is from Tim Conley. He said, "We have a lot of confidence in our guys, but it would be disingenuous to sit in front of this group and say we're happy with the 6th seed. We're happy with not being a home court playoff team. We're happy that our last 3 closeout games have been lopsided. We have to be realistic about what we have, which is way more good than bad, but we know we're not good enough right now." Knowing Tim Conley and the fact that he said this, there's going to be massive moves this offseason. They're absolutely I was pretty sure that it was going to happen just based off of the play in that Spurs series at the end of the series, like games 5 and 6. But the fact that Conley said this means that there's absolutely going to be massive moves this offseason. Speaking of which, there are 3 candidates that I have come up with that I think 2 of them are kind of out there, but one of them I think is more realistic. But there are 3 candidates that I've heard thrown around, and then a 4th one from actual NBA insiders have an actual mock trade here. That's a 4th name that'll be brought up. So the 3 names I thought of here that are candidates, and I have actually put them in order from 1 to 3 of who I want the most, also knowing what you would have to give up for them. So if you could just, like this, the order is going to be different if I could just take this player and plop them onto the Timberwolves, but if that's not obviously realistic. So this is my order of these 3 at least. In order of the who I would want on this team, knowing what we would have, the Timberwolves would have to give up. Number 3 would be Giannis Antetokounmpo. Again, fantastic player. If you could plop these 3 players onto the team without having to give anything up, he's by far and away number 1. He is the best player on this list, but I don't want to have to give up Jaden McDaniels. I don't want to have to nuke the entire team if we can get some of these other guys for a lot less. If you just give up Julius Randle and maybe a pick or 2, and you can get some of these other guys, and that makes it way more palatable to me to go after the other 2 than a Giannis. Number 2 here on my list is Kawhi Leonard. I think having Kawhi Leonard and Diet Kawhi Leonard, as Phil Mackey on the Flagrant Howl says, in Jaden McDaniels, having those 2 together would be absolutely insane. And if you somehow hung on to Rudy Gobert, the Timberwolves would have the best defense in the league. But he's number 2 because I still think you would have to give up quite a bit for him. And I'm also worried about some of his injury availability too, especially with how much you would have to give up for him in that case. And number 1 for me, and I think that this might actually be the more realistic option, because I think you could get away with giving up a Julius and a pick, and 1 pick to go to Dallas, and you get Kyrie Irving in return. Like, I think you wouldn't have to give up Jaden McDaniels. You could keep him, but if you could have a guy that's more of a facilitator and a second scorer behind Ant, I think that is how you help this team. I think that is the way this team gets immensely better. But the NBA insiders on ESPN came up with a mock trade. That mock trade just so happens to be the Timberwolves receiving Ja Morant, and that's the only thing the Timberwolves receive. And the Memphis Grizzlies receive Julius Randle, Terrence Shannon Jr., and Yohan Berenger. That's an immediate no from me. I hear Julius Randle, I'm listening. I hear Terrence Shannon Jr., and I'm probably hanging up right there. I'm definitely hanging up once you hear the Yohan. I'm not even letting them get out the entire Yohan Berenger. But I'm not giving up all three of those guys for a Ja Morant. Because again, he also has availability issues. And now part of that is not necessarily injury issues, but he's still unavailable, being unavailable because of injury and being unavailable because of suspension. Both of them are just as bad. And like, at least with, like, yeah, on the one hand, at least with a suspension, like, you can still get some practice and stuff in, but the suspensions only get longer the more offenses you have. So you're going to be out for more games if you're a repeat offender. So I would rather give up this trade package plus a Rudy Gobert and 7 future first-round picks for Giannis than Ja Morant at this point. And it's a bit of an exaggeration, but I just do not want to touch Ja Morant at this point on this team. And I just think he would not fit in with the rest of this roster. So, yeah. One more announcement here. Don't have any more Timberwolves news, but like last year, we will be doing an awards, a 301 show, Minnesota Timberwolves awards show. So we have a Google Sheets, or not a Google Sheets, a Google survey that I am going to leave down in the comment section. In the not the comment section, I will be leaving it in the description down below. If you would like to fill it out and help me out with who you guys think would win each award, I have put between 4 and 6 options for each one, because I think there are really only 4 to 6 options for each award. But if you just pick which one you think, that would actually help me out a lot to give these awards out. You can go over who I think should win the award and who you guys think would win the award too. So it'd be a fun thing to go over. I'm going to do it in episode 66 here. So fill that out before next week, before the next episode, and we'll go over the results then. We do have results, speaking of which, of some predictions here, and a bunch come off the board just with the Timberwolves season ending. With the season ending here, I had a bunch come off. I said the Timberwolves would win 8 in a row at some point this season. They did not at any point. Again, it probably could have come off at the end of the regular season, but technically they could have won 8 in a row in the playoffs. I said Rudy has a 20-plus rebound game this season. I think he had a 19 rebound game, but did not get to 20 in any game. I said Ant drops 35-plus in an elimination game in the 2026 playoffs, whether that's the Wolves eliminating the other team or the Wolves getting eliminated. And he did not drop 35 in any elimination game. I said the Wolves win the Western Conference. Obviously, they got knocked out at San Antonio. They won the Western Conference. Rudy has a playoff game with 17 plus rebounds. He did not. The Lynx beat Chicago. They did not. The Wolves beat the Spurs. They did not. This one could have come off in the last episode. I said the Lynx win their home opener. They did not. On to the good. I said the Lynx beat Dallas. They did. The Lynx start the season on time. They did. And Nafisa Collier will miss at least the first 5 games of the regular season, and she did. So that is 55 total correct out of 176 total predicted for 31%. 3 coming on the board here. I said the Wolves will trade for Kyrie Irving this offseason. Again, I want this to happen. So I'm kind of trying to will this into existence. I said Anthony Edwards will win the 2027 NBA MVP. I think if he gets a Kyrie, like a running mate, I think this actually has a pretty good chance of happening if he can take that next step forward. And then I said Rudy Gobert and Julius Randle will not be on the opening day roster next season. All right, moving on to the Rinkside Rundown. We do have some breaking news here. The PWHL, this is not the breaking news, the PWHL is expanding, and as part of the expansion draft rules, you have to have your some of your players signed by a certain time, and that would be June 2nd and 3rd here. The existing teams can sign players and submit their protection list. Well, the Minnesota Frost, this is the breaking news. The Minnesota Frost have announced that they have signed 2 forwards, Kelly Panic and Taylor Heisey, to 3-year contract extensions. They will both be protected from the expansion draft. So the Frost have 3 more years of Panic and Heisey. That is Kelly Panic, not panic as in chaos. But like I mentioned, the PWHL is expanding. We are on phase 1 here, June 2nd and 3rd. We're wrapping up today as I'm recording this. And that is, like I mentioned, the existing teams' signings and protection. So you can re-sign your own players and then submit a protection list from the 4 teams that are getting added in here. Between June 5th through the 8th, we enter phase 2, which is the expansion team foundational signing period, which they get to sign a few players here from the 5th to the 8th. From the 10th to the 12th, the preliminary opening signing period for all teams take place. From the 14th, on the 14th and 15th, the phase 4 opens. That is the expansion signing period. So the expansion teams get to sign players first. On the 16th and the 18th, we enter phase 5, and that is the existing team exclusive re-signing period. So existing teams can re-sign their own players if they have still make it through that expansion signing period. On the 17th, so right in the middle of those two, the PWHL draft will take place. And on on the 18th, then you can sign your players that you drafted in the PWHL draft too. On the 19th at 12 p.m. Eastern, at noon Eastern, phase 6 opens, and that is free for all free agency. That is anybody can sign with any other team. So the good news is Kelly Panic and Taylor Heisey, arguably the 2 best players on the Frost. I think Taylor Heisey is the best player on the Minnesota Frost, is coming back to the team. So Yeah, Kelly Panic and Taylor Heisey both back in the state of hockey. As for the Wild, I have some free agents from the Wild, and then I have some center options that we should go over. But first, we'll start with some bad news here. Philip Gustafson does have to have hip surgery, and Bill Guerin said that there is no recovery timeline just yet. They'll know more after the surgery happens, and they will get back on that. There is a chance that Philip Gustafson will have to miss the beginning of next year. That being the case, that would mean that Jesper Wallstedt is the starter this year. But I have a list here where I have 10 players that were on the Wild last year that are set to be free agents this offseason. And I have ranked the top 6 in order of who I would bring back, in order of just, again, assuming they're not wanting, Kirill Kaprizov. If the price is right, I think that these guys would be. It's not Matt Boldy, it's not Brock Faber, it's not Quinn Hughes. So Quinn Hughes can be extended this offseason, but he will be back for next season. These are guys that, if they do not re-sign them right now, they will not be on the team for next year. And we can get into more Quinn Hughes discussions later. If you have any questions about Quinn Hughes and what I think on Quinn Hughes, please leave those in the comments down below as well. But the free agents here, so I'll give you the 4 that I did not rank. These just are the bottom 4, I guess. But in any order, those kind of bottom 4 to me are Robbie Fabry, Bobby Brink, Zach Bogosian, and Jeff Petrie. Again, all 4 of those guys are I think Bobby Brink and Zach Bogosian I would maybe put up ahead of Robbie Fabry and Jeff Petrie, but I wouldn't lose that much sleep if they left either. So I just, the top 6 here, I'd be, the higher we get on this list, the more concerned I would be about the success of the Wild. And again, none of them are those top guys. So it's not like the Wild are going to miss the playoffs if they re-sign 0 of these guys on this list. But for me, number 6 is Marcus Johansson. Again, I do think he is a significant step up from those other 4 guys that I mentioned, but he is still the bottom of this list for me right now. Number 5, I've got Nick Foligno. And again, for me, the reason is he's been a captain. He's been a leader in multiple spots. I think he brings a lot more to that 4th line than Johansson does to one of either the 3rd line or the 2nd line. Again, I think skill-wise, Marcus Johansson is the better player as of right now. Again, Nick Foligno is getting older, but I think I would be more upset if Nick Foligno left than Marcus Johansson. Number 4, I've got Damian Hunt. Again, I think just having that depth defenseman, you absolutely need that. We saw that when Brodin went down, just how poorly Middleton and Bogosian played. I think Damian Hunt actually was not the worst defenseman in that series. I honestly think you can make the argument that in the playoffs, Damian Hunt was a better defenseman than Jared Spurgeon was. And again, I know Jared Spurgeon played way more games than Damian Hunt did, but I think Damian Hunt was at worst the 5th best defenseman for the Wild in that series. So I think you need to bring him back. Number 3 is Vladimir Tarasenko. Again, he scored 22 goals, 23 goals, something like that, low 20s, but still got up over 20 goals in the regular season. I think he is a great 2nd or 3rd line guy right now. Again, I love that Russian line of Trenyan, Yurov, and Tarasenko. I absolutely love that line. If they can bring Tarasenko back on a Again, relatively cheaper deal. I'm not giving him like $7 or $8 million if he's asking for that. I'd settle for around a $4 to $6 million deal for Tarasenko, and probably just a 1-year deal for him. For me is what I would end up giving him. But yeah, 1 second here. But yeah, no, I would not mind seeing Tarasenko back on this roster at all. Again, like I said, I think he is a solid second to third line winger on this team. Number 2, again, to me, he just edges out Tarasenko because of his connection on the top line. Number 2 is Matt Zuccarello. I think just his connection with Kirill Kaprizov is what puts him just ahead of Tarasenko for me. Again, skill-wise, I think I'd rather keep Tarasenko than I would Matt Zuccarello, but I think that leadership, again, he knows Minnesota. A lot of the core Wild players know him super well too. So for that reason, he comes in at number 2. But number 1 for me, I thought he was the second best center in the playoffs. And I think you can make the argument that because Eriksson got hurt, he might have been the best center in the playoffs for the Wild because of just the availability. But number 1 for me, the number 1 guy that was on the Wild last year that you need to bring back is Michael McCarron. I think Michael McCarron, again, at the time, like I was confused as to why they traded a second-round pick for him. Based off of just the playoffs alone, he was worth a second-round pick. It was probably worth, if there was a round 1.5, he'd probably be worth that. Like I probably would have given, especially if you can re-sign him and he does anything close to what he did in the playoffs, that dude might have been worth the first-round pick. Like if you can re-sign him, this is a fantastic deal for the Wild and Bill Guerin. And again, this is why I'm just a dude with a microphone and Bill Guerin's the one that's leading this team and making the decisions on this team, because I questioned it at the time. But Bill Guerin was absolutely right to make that decision and trade a second-round pick to Nashville for him. And he was the an absolute key for the success of this team down the stretch in the playoffs. But yeah, I think there are 2 guys I want to bring up here. There was going to be 3, but I was going to bring up Evgeny Malkin as an option to sign in free agency, but he re-signed with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Again, I thought it was a long shot just because I thought he was going back to Pittsburgh or retiring. But there are 2 guys here that I think, 2 centers that aren't on the Wild right now, that I think the Wild should look at and potentially go after. I think one is more realistic than the other because one is a free agent and the other one you'd have to trade in not as much as Quinn Hughes, but you would have to give up quite a bit to get him. But we'll start with the free agent here, that being Boone Jenner. And he's 32 years old, I believe, going to be 33. He's a free agent. He's played in 808 games in his career. He's 212 goals, 209 assists for 421 points. Big thing too, he's got a 54% from the faceoff dot. So he's a career plus faceoff taker. In 25-26 here, he played 67 games. He had 13 goals, 25 assists for 38 points, and it was a 52.6% on the faceoff dot. Again, I think he would be, again, just another leader in that room. Again, I think they're just trying to acquire as many captains as possible in that, with Quinn Hughes, Nick Foligno, potentially Boone Jenner if he makes it here. I think he would be, again, he'd be cheaper, on the cheaper side. The other option I have, you would have to give up a lot for him. He's also making around $7.5 million for the next 5 years. At least that's the AAV. That is through the 2030-31 season. That would be the Seattle Kraken's Matty Beniers. Again, he just has not. He was I believe, the second overall pick in 2022. He just has not fully lived up to that hype just yet. I don't even know if Seattle would want to move on from him. Again, I think they probably should just do a full teardown rebuild. They should have done that from the beginning. But in his career so far, he's played in 331 games. He has 82 goals, 114 assists for 196 points. In 2025-26, he had played in all 82 games. He played in all 82 games the year before as well. He had 20 goals, 30 assists for 50 points. I think this could very well be a guy that just a change of scenery and just playing with better players too gives him that spark that he needs, and he would take a step forward in his production and his growth as a hockey player. So those are two guys I think that the Wild should look at this offseason. I think Bill Guerin is probably talking. I think they talk about a lot of these options that we just throw out here on this show, and fans just talk about in their own time. But I think that these are especially two guys that they should very, very strongly consider. Last thing here before we get to the Rinkside Rundown predictions. Like I mentioned in the Wolves Den, we do have a Google survey for this one. That'll also be listed down in the description down below. We'll have two different ones, so fill out both of them, one for the Wild, one for the Wolves, and that is the different awards for the team, so we can go over who I think should get it and who you guys think should get it. Each award, and they've got a little description of each award too, so you know which each award is being awarded for. That being said, let's move on to the predictions. I had two come off the board here. I said the Wild, and these are made at two different times, and they're basically the same prediction. Again, but we're counting them as two, and they are both incorrect. The Wild and/or Frost will win their cup in 2026. Again, neither one of them did, so both of these are wrong. That is 68 out of 173 for 39%. The three coming on the board here. The Wild will trade for Matty Beniers. Again, that's something that I want to happen, so I'm just going to throw it out there and see if it sticks. Joel Eriksson Ek will take the second most faceoffs in the 2026-27 season for the Wild. Again, I think that this is mostly just they will find a top-line center. I just needed a way to make it easy to quantify, I guess. So faceoffs taken will be the metric we look at here. And then the final one is that Philip Gustafsson will be on the injured reserve for the 2026-27 season. All right, I'm actually jumping back in here. I've just recorded the entirety of this episode, but we got some more news here. So the Frost have officially announced their three players that they are protecting, and that is Kelly Panic, Taylor Heisey, and goaltender Matty Rooney. You can see over my shoulder there, I've got the Matty Rooney UMD jersey, so very happy with that. Again, a UMD fan. But I do think that this was probably the right choice. They couldn't protect both goaltenders at the same time. And it sucks because I do think they have one of the better, if not the best, goaltender tandem in the league. But I do unfortunately think that right now Nicole Hensley is probably going to be taken, probably going to be signed somehow in the expansion signing period here. So unfortunately that is the case, but hopefully that it doesn't happen and they can bring her back. But again, like I mentioned before in this episode, Taylor Heisey and Kelly Panic are re-signing, but Matty Rooney joins that group. So mid recording here, breaking news. Matty Rooney joins Taylor Heising and Kelly Panic as the third player being protected by the frost. All right, moving on to the final team segment here, the Nordic Report, as the Vikings have found their new general manager. Nolan Teasley has been hired as their GM. He was the former Seahawks assistant general manager. He worked his way up from being an intern with the Seattle Seahawks to being an assistant general manager, and now is with a new franchise, but has worked his way up to being a general manager in the NFL. Also, Rob Brzezinski will be staying with the Vikings in his current role. He was the interim general manager, but he will be staying in the role he's had for a while as the executive vice president of football operations, which means that he is going to be the cap guy in Minnesota. He's been the cap guru basically for a very long time. He's been with the Vikings since the 1999. So over or almost 30 years now he's been with the Vikings. That's different ownership groups, that's different general managers and coaching staffs. And Rob Brzezinski seems to be loved in that front office and in the higher ups. But the question to me is, how much power does Teasley, KOC, and Brzezinski have? Because it seems like there's going to be a bit of a power struggle here between those three. Like, at the end of the day, who is going to be the one that has like the final decision on things? And again, I think it should be Nolan Teasley, because of those three guys, obviously KOC is still relatively new, his 2022 hire, but this is the first time he's been a head coach somewhere and has had more power over personnel decisions. Brzezinski's obviously been with the Vikings since '99, and Teasley was with the Seahawks. And I just think I just don't think the Seahawks in Teasley's time there have been to 3 more Super Bowls than the Vikings have been in the last 50 years. The Vikings haven't been to a single Super Bowl in 50 years. The Seahawks have been to 3. They winning 2 of those, losing 1. And that's just within the last, I think, 12 years. I know it wasn't only his decision. He wasn't the one like making the official decisions, but he was sitting in on those meetings. He was giving his input, and they were doing things that actually got them a couple of Super Bowls, including right now being the defending Super Bowl champions with a quarterback that the Vikings gave up on in Sam Darnold. And I just personally think that it should just be Teasley getting the final say. Obviously, he's going to have a team around him. He's going to listen to the coaching staff and what they want, but it should be Teasley saying, I am making the decision here. He shouldn't do what Kwesi did in a couple years ago, when the last year of Kirk Cousins, when he went down to the locker room at the trade deadline and was like, hey, do you guys want to keep going with this? Kirk just got hurt. What should we do here? And the team, obviously the players are they were saying, let's keep going. We got this. We're going to obviously didn't make the playoffs. Only won 7 games that year. But you could have gotten something for Danielle Hunter at that point. They could have, I know it was a little late because of the injury to trade Kirk, but if he hadn't gotten hurt, do you trade Kirk Cousins? You need somebody that is going to own it, but also just make those tough decisions. Like there's gonna be someone that knows football, that knows the analytics, that knows all of it, at least decently well all of it, and maybe specializes in either the football side or the analytics side. But they need somebody like Kwesi was very much an analytics guy, but didn't have the football side of it. Teasley knows the football side of it. Might not be as good as Kwesi, but he seems at the analytics part. But he seems to at least be decent at the analytics part. But you need somebody that can balance both and has the cojones to make those tough decisions and not survey the locker room and see the bigger picture here too. So I do think this is a good hire. Again, I think anytime you can get somebody with that much power, again, it wasn't the one making the decisions in Seattle, but if you can get someone that was had some sway in that front office, if you can get someone like that of the defending champions, I think that's a good decision. I do. And maybe a year from now, 4 years from now, 10 years from now, I'll say that was a bad decision, and I'll say that I was wrong. But I right now say that this is a good hire. I do think that this is a good hire right now. So I'm excited to see. I do think the number one thing that Nolan Teasley needs to do is figure out where the breakdown in the drafting has been, and maybe it's not the drafting, maybe it's the development of the players that they have drafted has been the issue, and they're actually drafting players, good players and players with potential. It's just the coaching staff can't develop that. Maybe it's the scouting, and it actually is just they're drafting bad players that they don't that they can't develop. But I think he needs to figure that out and figure that out immediately. Like that needs to be figured out before next draft, but you need to have a process in place for the year. So like that needs to happen within the next couple weeks to like couple months. And maybe again, whether that is we should keep it like, what I just want is to have confidence in whatever the decision is. Whether that is, no, everyone around us is fine. Like the scouting department is fine. Just have confidence in it. That's the big thing for me. So we've got some other one other major story here. It is the quarterback story going on here. So they bring in Kyler Murray, and J.J. McCarthy does not seem to be taking it well. There's a report from La Confora, former NFL Network and CBS Sports Insider, currently works for Sports Boom. He cites an anonymous GM, and the anonymous GM has a quote here that says, "I think he," meaning J.J. McCarthy, "I think he wants out of there. I think he's wanted out of there since they signed Murray. Those personalities are not going to be a good fit." He went on to say that McCarthy flamed out in esteemed head coach Kevin O'Connell's offense last year, and also had some issues with his maturity and demeanor behind the scenes, according to league sources. And I think the interviews, the press conference that they did, were very much evident of that. The difference between Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy were immensely. It was obvious that how much of a difference there was. Kyler Murray came in and said, "I'm still learning. I'm trying to help J.J. McCarthy grow too. From what I know, I've been in the league for 7 or 8 years, however long it's been. I'm trying to give him knowledge. I'm still trying to learn from Kevin O'Connell too." That's a very mature and yeah, it might be PR related, or like PR zhuzhed up, but it's still a good answer. It's a really good answer. J.J. McCarthy's was asked basically the same question about how it is to have Kyler Murray, and he said, in the room, it's like high school. I sit on one side, he sits on the other side. That's not that great. Like he seems like he is just super butthurt about, and it's okay. Like I understand if he was, like I completely understand it, because the Vikings are basically saying you are not good enough at football to not to, you know, for us to guarantee you a spot right now. And I think that's incredibly fair too, because he could not, you know, he didn't play well enough to justify not starting Carson Wentz and not starting Max Brosmer in games. Now, he was obviously hurt for some of that, but Carson Wentz and Max Brosmer started way more games than I think the Vikings and J.J. McCarthy wanted them to. And the Vikings are basically saying, like, that was the bar, and you couldn't get over it. So we're bringing in something that will raise that bar and force you to have to play better at this point. And again, I think that is a fantastic thing. And the Vikings statistically had bottom five, not even bottom five, they had the worst quarterback play of any team in the league last year statistically, between the three quarterbacks that actually got time. And they still finished with 9 wins. That's how good the defense was. Justin Jefferson is good enough to where he still got 1,000 yards. So if you can just raise that bar from here to here, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, the top quarterbacks in the league are still way up here. But if you can increase it from not even on the register to even just like here, that is going to end up with 10, 11, like maybe 12 wins. Like they win at least 2 or 3 more games if Kyler Murray was healthy all year and was their quarterback. I think they win at least 11 games. And now I think too, like there's a chance they win 10 games if that one kickoff against the Bears goes a different way, where Devin Duvernay returned it. I think if they stop him, I think they easily win 10 games there last year. So I think they could have easily gotten 11 if the quarterback play was just a little bit better. But J.J. McCarthy too, like it seems like he's not happy with this. And again, I understand. And the thing here is keep it to yourself. At least keep it in the locker room. Don't air it out to the public, because now I guarantee you, and if I was the Steelers, I'd be doing the exact same thing. If I were the, you know, pick your team. If I was the Cardinals, I'd be calling the Vikings right now and just asking about J.J. McCarthy. Like I think if a different team, if the Vikings were, you know, had 43-year-old Aaron Rodgers and no backup quarterbacks, and the Steelers had J.J. McCarthy and Kyler Murray, and I heard those comments, I'd be loving at least a phone call. Again, they might shoot me down, but I would absolutely pick up the phone and ask about J.J. McCarthy. If I could have gotten J.J. McCarthy for a 6th round pick and just given him a chance, I'd absolutely do that. So I think that J.J. McCarthy, his biggest thing is just the maturity. Like, I think that is by far the thing he needs to work on the most. And obviously the injuries didn't help last year. That's the other biggest thing too, but it's part of that is how much of that can you actually work on? Like there's going to be, obviously there's certain things you can do as a quarterback. You got to slide. You got to not take that hit out of bounds that forces you out of bounds. Just slide instead. But obviously, like, those things are within the quarterback's control. But the biggest thing to me within the quarterback's control that J.J. McCarthy needs to work on is just the maturity and the growing up. And part of it too is he's only 23 years old. It's the brain doesn't fully develop until you're 25 too. So it's just part of it is literally his brain literally hasn't fully developed at this point. And I just think that there is some maturity and some maturity issues going on here, and hopefully those get sorted out. Hopefully Kyler Murray is able to help him get those figured out here, and maybe it's a KOC needs to sit him down and just have a tough come to Jesus conversation with him here at this point. So those are my thoughts here on the Nordic Report. We'll get into the predictions. I actually had one come off the board. It should have come off a while ago after the draft. It did not, but it'll come off now here. I said that the Vikings will draft a center in the 2026 NFL draft. That was correct. That brings it up to 53 out of 151 for 35%. 3 coming on the board here. I said the J.J. McCarthy will be traded by this year's deadline. I think, again, if it is the Seahawks, or not the Seahawks, if it is the Steelers or the Cardinals or something like that, or it could be Sam Bradford, but the other way, where a team or a quarterback goes down in training camp and they're offered a massive deal to move off of J.J. McCarthy. I think that could be a situation too. Second prediction here, this involves the Seahawks. I said the Vikings will make a trade with the Seahawks before the trade deadline this year. And then final prediction, I'm predicting basically a Jefferson comeback season here. Justin Jefferson will lead the league in receptions, receiving touchdowns, and or receiving yards. So at least one of the big 3 receiving categories. All right, welcome to the final segment of today's episode, the Power Rankings segment. Power Rankings, for those that don't know, is a segment we do at the end of every episode where we take a topic in Minnesota sports, either history or current, and rank it from 1 to 10. Today, we are doing not a specific Minnesota sports topic, just a personal sports topic here where I am going to rank the top 10, my top 10 biggest sports pet peeves. So this is just a personal list. This is just kind of what annoys me in sports today. Number 10 here, we have flopping. And again, if it becomes any worse in the NBA, this is probably going to be moving up the list pretty quickly here. But flopping comes in at number 10. Number 9, we've got long, drawn-out reviews. A lot of these reviews can end up taking way too long, and if it takes that long, it probably didn't affect the play that much, and you should just not challenge it or just be done with it. Number 8 is the phrase boy aquarium when talking about the hockey rink and hockey players. Number 7 here is benches clearing brawls. It's where the benches clear in a benches clearing brawl and nobody fights. If you're going to clear the benches, again, you see this a lot in baseball. If you're going to clear the benches, if the bullpens are going to come out for all the way from the outfield, throw a punch or don't run out at all. Just you can't go halfway with it. You have to do everything or nothing. Just there's no in between here. And I'm sure the leagues are trying to avoid it all together, but still. Number 6 here is not funny, unfunny / annoying drunk hecklers. So, again, those people that think that they are absolutely hilarious, even though they are absolutely not. My number 1 example of this is I was at a Wild game against the Chicago Blackhawks, and Cody Glass was the Blackhawks goaltender, and we were sitting right behind the net for the first and third period, the Chicago net, and the guy behind us the entire game was going, Glassy, Glassy, and just trying to, I'm like, dude, he can't hear you. There's ironically glass in front or in between us. This dude cannot hear you right now. So unfunny / annoying drunk hecklers come in at number 6. Number 5, I've got the New York Yankees. Again, I think a little bit self-explanatory here, but the New York Yankees are my number 5 sports pet peeve. Number 4, it's fans going, ooh, on a pop fly that the second baseman has to move in to catch. That is my number 4 pet peeve. Number 3, we're going to go back to hockey here. Again, I see this most in hockey. I'm sure it happens in other sports as well, but it happens in hockey a lot. It's fans going, shoot, or shoot the puck. They know to shoot. Just you don't need to yell it all the time. Again, another lady behind us at a Wild game was yelling, "Get the puck, shoot the puck." Literally the entire game. And to be fair, they should have shot the puck because I'm pretty sure they lost that game. So maybe they should have listened to this one fan in this one instance. But fans yelling "shoot the puck" is my number 3 pet peeve. My number 2 pet peeve is Minnesota sports in the playoffs. Again, obviously the Lynx and the Frost seem to be pretty good, but the men's teams are my Minnesota men's sports teams in the playoffs are my number 2 pet peeve. And number 1, this comes from me having been a goaltender growing up, but it's saying the word shutout while one is happening. Do not say shutout. Do not say no-hitter. Do not say perfect game. If you do, you will jinx it, and it will be your fault why the pitcher or goaltender loses it. That'll do it for episode 65 of the 301 show. Do thank you for joining us for this one. If you did like it, leave a like down below. Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this and interviews from Minnesota athletes, coaches, and other media members. We got a question of the day here. If you could choose between unlimited bacon but have no games, or unlimited games but no games, which one would you rather have? Comment down below anybody that you want to see on the show, where you agree with me, disagree with me, answer for your answer for the question of the day. And we will see you next time. Peace.